And today we are going to be talking about the F250 versus the F350. Do you need to buy a 1-ton or is a 3/4 ton enough? We're going to go over the differences and the similarities, and hopefully it'll help you out in making your decision. So stick around and check it out. Right out the gate, we're just going to get over the similarities. So we're not going to go over trim levels, lariats versus XLTs, platinums, and all that stuff, because those are virtually the same whether you have get an F250 or an F350. So we are going to talk about what the similarities are as far as structurally and what the dissimilarities are. The F250 and F350 are virtually identical in a lot of aspects. It's the same cab, it's the same chassis, it's the same front axle. A lot of times it's the same wheels and tires. So, well, what is the big difference? Mostly it is numbers, gross vehicle weight ratings, and payload, because that's the biggest dissimilarity in these trucks. And what's making the biggest difference is those, because like basically everything up front here is all the same. It's what's in the back. The main difference between the F250 and the F350 is the spring pack and the axles. And some of them are similar and some are different, just depending on the configuration of whatever you're getting. Like I'm going to give you some examples here. Like this is an F250 7.3 liter Godzilla engine, and it's got a 10,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating, and it has the 355 gears. This comes with the 10.5 inch Sterling axle, which the F350, same truck, would come with a 4 leaf springs, overload spring, but those come with the M275 Dana axle, which here's the differences between the two. The 10.5 Sterling has a 3.5 inch axle tube. The M275 has a 4 inch axle tube and a higher axle shaft thickness and a higher spline count to account for the more weight. But not all F250s come with the Sterling 10.5. You can get the same F250 if you got the 430 gears. They come with the M275 axle, but it doesn't come with the higher rated leaf springs, so you get that lower gross vehicle weight rating. And we'll go over how that comes into play a little more in just a few minutes. So those are the biggest differences. The F350 has a bigger axle sometimes, and it has a higher leaf spring rating than the standard F250, but and stuff like that. And there's also some controversy out there, because just for an example is the F250 trimmer package comes with the exact same leaf pack as an F350, the same axle, it's the same brakes, it's the same chassis, but they still have a downgraded gross vehicle weight rating. Why? I don't know. But like, why would you even sell a trimmer that's identical to an F350 as an F250? Sometimes you have to register if it's over 10,000 pounds as a commercial vehicle, and I think that's the main reason, is government red tape there. But even though they have identical components, the F250 has that trimmer has a lower gross vehicle weight rating than the F350, even though the parts are identical. So how's this all going to affect what you're going to decide to get? What are the little things that make the big difference? Just depending on the gearing you get, which engine you get, it's the same transmission, same drive shafts, and sometimes the same axles. So you just have to look at the combination of things, and you have to go onto the Ford website, and they're going to have a listing of the F250s, the F350s, and you're going to have to pick whether, your cab configuration, your bed configuration, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and then it goes across the board and picks you show your gearing, and then it'll tell you what that vehicle, your gross vehicle weight rating, and then after that, it'll tell you what the conventional towing is, what your fifth wheel capabilities are, what your gooseneck capabilities are. It's all across the board. There's so many different configurations between the F250 and F350. So as you can see, there's no simple answer to this question, like what is going to be the best. It all depends on that chart and what your needs are. Like when we bought this F250, we were starting to think about buying an RV and doing some traveling and stuff like that. We were looking at a conventional tow, which just on the trailer. We were not looking at fifth wheels or any kind of gooseneck. So we thought this would fit the bill. We were not looking at trailers that with a gross vehicle weight rating over 12,000 pounds. We're looking under that. So this would fit the bill perfectly for that. We weren't really towing any long distances yet. It was actually going to be, 2 years before we did any real RVing. We were just going to buy one and try it out and see how it goes. And then, life happened, and I retired early, and we started RVing quicker than I thought. But we already had this truck, so we had to buy an RV that was within the specs of this truck. Let me give you a good example too of like an F250 and F350. And I have a buddy who has basically the exact same truck, an XLT, same cab configuration, four-wheel drive, but his is the diesel. And he has a little bit over 11,000 gross vehicle weight rating. And his payload capacity is 3,400 pounds. And my payload capacity is 3,082 pounds, which there's only a little over 300-pound difference between the two trucks, even though one's an F250 and one's an F350, because the extra weight of the diesel engine and components, mostly emissions and everything, his is almost subjugated to towing not much more as a fifth wheel than mine. Technically, it's rated for to pull it, but where it really comes to be a problem is that payload, because fifth wheels and gooseneck puts a lot of tongue weight on the bed of the truck, takes away from your payload. Like our RV tongue weight is between 2,000 and probably 2,300 pounds. So that only leaves us a little over 700-800 pounds for our fifth wheel hitch and all our passengers in the vehicle and other junk in there. So even though it's rated to tow more, he's pretty much can't get a RV any bigger than I have and towing with this thing, because he would be exceeding his payload capacity. And we're pretty much maxed out at our payload capacity. And that's what's got me thinking about making this video. Is I wasn't thinking too far in the future. And like I said, when we first bought this thing, we were not thinking about buying a fifth wheel at all. We were looking at travel trailers. We weren't even sure if we were going to like the RV life and how much of it. We're just going to give it a shot. And, and when I traded my F150 in for this F250, it was like the end of 2022. That was when there was no inventory anywhere. I was actually looking at 1-tons, but I couldn't find one that wasn't, close to $100,000. And I did not pay anywhere close to that for this thing. So I went with this because I knew it was going to fit the bill. Little did I know, we started going to the RV shows and everything and finding out that my wife and I both were kind of falling in love with the fifth wheels because of the more headspace and stuff like that and more storage, especially because we were thinking about doing full time. And then next thing you know, we started looking at fifth wheels, and we had to make sure that it fit within our specs of this truck. There's no real easy answer to this problem, but it's just that depending on what your needs are. And if you're thinking about something, you may want to future-proof it. Like we may want to get a bigger fifth wheel or heavier one. I should have future-proofed it and maybe got a 1-ton, but at the time, there wasn't a 1-ton for sale that wasn't over $90,000. It was just ridiculous. And I got what I could get at the time. But this is doing the job for now. We will see what the future holds. And if you're into trucks, travel, towing, RV life full-time and stuff like that, hit that subscribe button, follow all of our adventures, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.